day, and it's been one of the things that I've avoided for a long time in the kitchen. You know, those recipes that you sort of think, oh, I'd like to make duck, or I'd like to make croissants, or I'd like to make Phyllo pastry, but I heard it's really hard. And I'm now topping off my list of 3. So I've made croissants, and I'll make those in a later recipe for you. I've done duck, and I've been pretty happy with the results there. And today it's Phyllo pastry. So the reason I never had made my own Phyllo pastry was because people said, oh, it's really hard. And what I found when I made it that first time is it's actually not that hard. It's just a little bit fiddly and tricky. So, you know, a day of patience is in order. So you can make this one by hand, or you can use your mixer. I tend to use my mixers for most dough. I'm going to add into the bowl here 355 grams of flour. Now this is strong flour, so it's a 00 flour. And the thing to really note about flour, and I've got 3/4 of a cup of water here, and I'll talk to you about that as well. But when we add the water, we're not going to add it all at once, because depending on your flour, depending on the humidity, depending on the weather, will depend on how much water you're going to need for this recipe. So I'm going to actually show you how to know when it's just right. So to the flour, we're just going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. I like to get mine locally. There's a guy at Selleck's Hill which sells lovely olives and beautiful olive oils. I just take my flagon in and get that filled. I've got a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt, and we'll just add that in as well. And what you'll find is when you add the next thing in, your baking powder will react. So 3 teaspoons of distilled white vinegar into there. So what I'm going to do is put my dough down now, because I'm going to gradually add about half of the water, just on a low mix, just as it goes away. So you see I haven't added all my water there, I've left some in there, and I'm just bringing that together. And what I'm looking for with the water, I'm going to add a little bit more in a minute, but what I'm looking for with the water is for the pastry to just pull away from the sides, so your sides are just clean. So we're only going to be adding a little bit at a time. So you can see on the side of my bowl here that I've still got a little bit of flour, dry flour there, so it's just starting to come together now. And I'm just going to add a little bit more water. So that one's just coming together beautifully. Someone's going to need about 5 minutes or so just kneading there. What you're going to do is knead it with the hook, and then you're going to pull it out and take a look at your dough. Oh, look at that beautiful dough. So you can see it's still pulling apart quite a bit, so I'm just going to knead this bit by hand. You won't need flour on your surface for this, because we've got it exactly the right consistency. It's not sticking, and it has all come together. And you'll see the inside of my bowl is pretty much clean. That'll only take a little wipe through. It won't take much just to bring this together by hand. I just love the rhythm of kneading, and you know, really love the making pastries and breads and things like that, because it's such a relaxing activity. And the reason I'm letting that one rest is so that the glutens can develop and you get a nice elastic in your dough. If you try to work with the dough before it's rested, you will find that your recipes won't work, and it won't, you won't get the nice elasticity that you need when you're working with your dough. So I'll be back in half an hour once that's rested. Okay, so my dough's been resting now for half an hour, 45 minutes. Half an hour's plenty, so nice and soft, you'll see. It'll spring back when you press the top. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to divide this into sections. This is really good, it's just a pastry scraper. So try and divide as evenly as possible. I am actually going to weigh this in a second so that we have 25 gram balls. And you want to get the balls as close as you can to the same weight, because then when we're rolling out our pastry, and that'll become clear later, but when we're rolling out our pastry, you'll find that if they're really close in size, they're going to be similar size. So let's see what that one is. 23. We want just slightly more. So that one's 27. So that's a 25 gram ball here, and then just turn it into a little ball. Just roll it in your hands into a little ball and just under some glad wrap. Okay, I've divided about half the pastry at the moment. I don't want my pastry to dry out. But what you're going to do is just take one of your dough balls. This is corn flour, and corn flour is quite starchy. So you'll find that when you're using it between the layers, it's going to stop your pastry sticking together. And you're just going to start rolling that out. Quarter turns as you go, just to keep it round. And you want a nice, even, flat piece of dough, just as you go. Just sprinkle some of this so you can use that on your pastry. Okay, so just a quarter turn as I go. And I want to roll that one out as thin as I can, but not, this isn't the stage where you're going to be getting your pastry really thin. So there's our first one. I'll just sort of pop him in the flour because we want to make sure I've got a lot of flour between each of the surfaces. Now, I have seen some where they actually work with, when they put the layers together, with 10 layers at a time. I did say this recipe is a little bit tricky. What I found was I had a lot more success when I was only working with 5 at a time. And I think when you're starting out with this recipe, that's probably the best way to go. So we're going to get 5 of these rolled out now. This will be number 5, and then we'll get started with the next stage. So I'm just going to make sure that there's enough between the layers of the corn flour when I get started. So you can see they're not sticking. So all you're going to do is bring them together in a stack. And you're literally going to start rolling them out all in one. And this is how you get your pastry to that really, really thin layer. And turn them as you go, because you don't want one layer to be getting very thin and the others to be, not as large. We know that they all weigh about the same, so we should find that when we're rolling them out, we get about the same as well. So, just as I go. So you should be able to easily separate your sheets. And this is the bit I found fiddly. But these two aren't quite as big as the others, so I'm just going to roll them out a little bit and then pop my other sheets back on. See this beautiful pastry already starting to get thin. If you don't have enough corn flour, it will stick, and that's when you're going to find that you're not going to get that nice pastry. So, get in there now. I just check as I'm going that they're not sticking, which they're not. And I just put a little bit more corn flour in between the layers. See, this one's starting to stick a bit there. Oh, just feeling this dough, it actually is beautiful, and you'll find that it will make beautiful thin layers. You can see it's starting to get to that point now. And this is the bit that I sort of found was just a little bit fiddly and tricky. I certainly, the first time I did it, I tried to do it with 10 layers, and that was just way too many. Just even them up on there. So many different recipes you can make with the phyllo pastry. I've got a recipe already up for a chicken phyllo pastry that is beautiful, chicken mushroom phyllo. And that's certainly what I'm going to make with this one. But you can make desserts as well as savoury recipes with phyllo pastry. And I'd love to see some of your ideas. So let me know what you think and what you'll be making with your phyllo. But you know, if you've got any questions along the way or you're getting stuck on something, also let me know that as well. Alright, what I'm going to do is just turn this one more time. I'm rolling mine into a circular sort of shape. And I'm getting some nice even pastry sheets. So how do you know when you're done? When you can see your hand underneath this great pastry. And look how light and elastic that pastry is. I could probably take it a tiny bit further. But I really don't want to go much further than that. Let's get my ends. And what I've done is I've prepared a piece of baking sheet because I'm not going to use this straight away. I'm going to put this one in the fridge. So I am going to peel off my layers here and just make sure I've got enough corn flour in between them. When you cook with phyllo, often you'll baste it with some butter, but just follow the recipe as you would normal store-bought phyllo. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm pleased with that. So certainly easier the second, third, fourth times that you make it. And the thinner you can get it, the nice crispy layers you'll get. And don't worry if you do what I've just done and tear a little bit. It's quite resilient pastry. And that won't matter once it's all cooked. But you can see how thin my beautiful layers are. And so I've done 5 there. I tend to package it up in 10 because I tend to, when I'm cooking, use 8 to 10 sheets of phyllo. Oh, lovely. I'm just so pleased with that. Look at that. Such a rewarding thing to make. As are a lot of pastries. Okay, so now I've got that on my sheet like that. I'm just going to fold this end over. And I'm just going to roll this gently on top of itself. Wrap it in Glad wrap. Pop it in the fridge. It'll last in the fridge about a week or so. And you can actually freeze it like this. It'll last around 3 months. And when you take it out of the freezer, let it defrost overnight in the fridge. So that is phyllo pastry.